Hi friends, I'm Chef Nilesh and they call me Sindabad the Chef. Welcome to Nature's Basket Cook-A-Thon, a 15-day festival featuring 15 chefs in collaboration with Travel Dine. Today I'm going to bake a Christmas special recipe called Baked Strawberry Cheesecake. And for the recipe we need strawberries, cookies, cream cheese, ricotta cheese, castor sugar, strawberry preserve, flour, mint for garnish, lemon zest, eggs, butter, vanilla essence, rosé wine and white wine. So for the recipe, to begin with, we need to crush the cookies and get the base ready. For that, I have this blender here. Let's get the cookies into it. I'm just going to break some cookies before I blend so that it's easier. So now let's add the preserve. We have this nice strawberry preserve here. The base, everything will have the same kind of a taste. And we'll add some butter to give it a binding. So we've given it a blitz, made it more like a dough, and we will brush the pan with some butter because this is where we're going to make the baked cheesecake finally. So this is the springboard pan. This helps because with this pan, things we can remove the sheet from inside very easily, and even if we have to demold it, it's done very quickly. So this springboard pan which I suggest we should use. Otherwise you can use a regular cake mold. Only thing is that you have to brush it with butter and put some flour on it. Right now we don't need to add some flour, we just need to add some butter. So you can see we have got this kind of a dough here, the cookie dough which we have got preserve in it, strawberry preserve to carry the taste of the strawberry in the cake, and some butter. Well, let's add this to the springboard pan at the base because this is going to be the crust of our cake, and this is also going to do a lot of magic in the final taste of the cake because it gives a little crispiness to the entire bite when you have it on your palate. The best part of Nature's Basket is that it's like your open pantry. It just allows you to choose what you want. You get all the things that you want for your recipe, and then it becomes so convenient to make the recipe. I'm sure you've made lots of cheesecakes, but mostly they're all frozen. But if you have eaten the baked one, it's a completely different level altogether. So here we have nicely, we have got the base. You can see the base is all even. That's very important. And this, either we can bake it now or along with the cake, it can get baked. So both ways is fine. So let's keep it aside and we can get on with our next step of making the cheesecake. So let's get on with our next step, which is making actually the cream cheese whip. So for that, we have this wonderful cream cheese. Again, thanks to Nature's Basket, I got this beautiful creamy cream cheese, which is just the right thing which we want because this is the flavor that we want. You don't want the cream to be tastier, you want the cheese in it, and that's why it's called baked cheesecake. Actually, this cake has got various names. You can call it as the New York cheesecake, or nowadays they call it as the Basque cheesecake, but I simply want to call it strawberry baked cheesecake because it's Christmas, strawberries are in season, and nothing to beat the wonderful creamy taste of this when you have it along with your wine right on the eve of Christmas. And I have this beautiful, again, very natural ricotta. I'm going to add half of that. Now let's give it a whip. We'll whip it till it gets a nice little creamy texture, very smooth texture. But when the two cheeses blend, the ricotta and the cream cheese, the taste is just magnificent. We have nicely blended them together. Now let's start adding some of our ingredients which are very vital for this cheesecake. This is like Madagascar in my kitchen right now because this is wonderful vanilla, bourbon vanilla, natural extract, which is very important for this cheesecake. I'm going to add some drops of it. Wow, and this is going to give that very nice pale beige color to my cake. And I'm going to add some white wine. Who can beat the wine It's Christmas, so wine is very necessary, though it is optional. If you like wine, you can add wine. Wine just adds a little bit of acidity into the taste. And I'm going to add some lemon zest because even this will neutralize the flavor of the cheese in our recipe. So I've added this lemon zest to it. The lemon zest will will just cut down the acidity with the ricotta and will just bring in a wonderful taste on your palate. The wine, the vanilla, everything is all going to come together. Just wait and watch. As I said, it's got a nice beige color. The vanilla extract was beautiful. Even if my recipe says few teaspoons, but you can go a little wild with all these ingredients because they bring out the flavor and it should be intense. So that's the main part of it. So be very adventurous when you add these ingredients, particularly like the vanilla extract or the wine or the lemon zest, because they are not going to change or alter the recipe. They're just going to bring the flavor more intense and going to make it wow. Now let's add some flour because you want that little base to it. So I'm going to add some flour so it gives a little bit of binding to my cake when it gets baked. Not too much flour. It's not that I'm adding a whole cup of flour, just few teaspoons. Excellent. You can see the creamy texture of this batter. Now we have to add some eggs and we have to add the whole eggs as is. So we don't have to separate the whites. The whole eggs goes together. Let's give it a whip first. I'll add one more egg. This has to be a little soft cake and not be very firm because when you add too much of eggs, after baking it, it kind of becomes more like a custard. And you don't want you don't want this cake as a custard. You just want it like little soft, smooth, and so I don't need to add too many eggs. I'm just adding 2 eggs right now. That should be good. And the whole thing is ready. It's very important for you to taste this because it will just give you an idea as to where this recipe is going. So we need to add one more ingredient, which is the sugar. Very vital ingredient. So this is castor sugar. So it becomes very easy because it melts very fast in the entire thing, in the batter. And now just see how the taste alters. The first part was because I wanted to see the cheese intensity in the cake because this is a cheesecake, so you want the cheese to be there in this taste. That's why I've added. That's why I'm adding the sugar a little later. Because at this stage, if you feel that the cheese is less, you can always add the cheese, or you can add some extra cheese to it. But the cheese flavor is there, the ricotta flavor is there, and now I just added some sugar to it. So it will bring in the sweetness which is much required for this cake. And this is exactly how we want the batter to be. Very soft, not very firm, or it's not like a dough. So this has to be the exact consistency of the batter. We have the batter ready. Now let's get it to bake. Our springboard pan is also ready. So all we have to do is now just add the entire batter. It is very wobbly, so that's how we want it. Not going to fill up the whole thing because we should give some space to rise, and that should be good. We have already lined the pan with some butter, and now it's time to bake it. So now this has to go in the oven. Bake it at around 160 degrees centigrade for 20 minutes, but we'll give it a shot after 10 minutes and see what is the condition of the cake, how much it is baked, and depending on that we'll see whether we need to bake for another 5-10 minutes or more. So now our third element for this particular recipe is the strawberry compote that is required to be put on the top as a topping. For that I'm going to take some brown sugar, or it's also called as Damemara sugar. See, look at it's beautiful. It has got the same it's from Madagascar. So the vanilla and the brown sugar You can imagine how everything is going to come together, blend together, and only because of the Nature's Basket pantry that they have there. So we have added this Damemara sugar. I'm going to melt it a bit. So let's leave it on a hot plate. Then I'm going to add the strawberries, give it a nice little toss, and let it just soak in the sugar syrup, because you want this as a compote. It has to be a little liquidy. And I'm going to add this wonderful rosé wine to get in that little bit of that acidity which is required, because this is the topping, you know, this is the topping on the cheesecake. The cheesecake is mild, it's cheesy, it's not very sweet, but the sweetness is going to be substituted by this particular compote. And of course, the frosting and the strawberries, isn't it like already gorging on the imagination that what we have created. But just wait, this is not going to take much time as we melt the sugar. Right, guys, you can see the sugar has melted wonderfully. It's nicely caramelized, but it's not brown, it's not burnt, so it's just melted correctly. And I'm going to add these chopped strawberries. You have to understand that I'm not I'm just going to keep this strawberries till they are a little soft and mushy, because anyway I'm going to blitz it through the blender. So we're going to get a nice puree or a compote of the strawberries. And now to glaze it with some rosé wine. You can add white wine also, but because you know the basic principle of wine is anything red, with red food you drink red wine, with white food you drink white wine. So strawberries are pink, so I've used rosé wine, as simple as that. Otherwise, you can, even if you get hold of white wine, you can use that. Red wine can be a little too intense, can get your compote a little bitterish, so you can avoid the red wine. But if you have white wine, you can add that. And if you don't want to use wine, you can add some nice chilled water to it and just let it cook the way I'm doing it, except without the wine. So let's give it a boil for a few minutes, and once it gets cold, we will pass it through the blender. All right, time's up. Let's see how the oven has done its job. Oh, wonderful. The cake's looking awesome, gorgeous. It's got that nice brown color. Lovely. The sides have come apart. That's the sign that the cake is nicely baked. Looks beautiful, and it's nicely set. There's a little bit of wobble here in the center, which is very much necessary. So once it gets cooled down, we'll be able to cut it into slices. But before that, let's cool it. And you know, it's full of kind of little hot temperature inside, so need to cool it a little bit and then put in the refrigerator for say 45 minutes to 1 hour, and our cake will be ready to gorge. The cake is out of the fridge, so let's get going with our final presentation of the dish. Let's take it out of the springboard fan. So you can see the crust and you can see the cake. Now we need to cut the slice. All right, so the strawberry compote is ready. So I'm going to apply this syrup on the cake. You have this nice Christmassy red color on the cake, which is very much necessary for this. So let's pipe this out. Let's put the strawberries as a garnish. Very Christmassy. And the Christmas trees. That's our mint leaf here. We just will add a nice tinge of green on our cake. And lo, the strawberry baked cheesecake is ready to gorge. So friends, what are you waiting for? Go to Nature's Basket, pick up these ingredients, come to your kitchen and surprise your family, because the baked strawberry cheesecake is one of the best recipes you can make for them. Till then, Merry Christmas! Ho ho ho! Santa is on his way!